Father's Note, promoting fathers through building men. It's so important that we always stand up for our fathers. We want you to know we're with you. We're standing behind you 110%. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to A Father's Note, where we promote fathers through building men. We thank you so much for you taking the time out to join us. As always, we always strive to have on this particular show good content for you. Anything that's related to our fathers, our sons, mothers, families overall, that we feel or believe that will be very beneficial. And so tonight we're going to be talking about Boys in the Hood. Okay, not the actual movie. Of course, there are going to be some things that we would glean from it that we want to just show. I guess I would say a correlation, a parallel between that particular movie and what we are experiencing today. But we, in essence, the question that we ask, who's responsible for our young men who are in the ghetto? Now, what prompted me to have this discussion? And technically, initially, I was going to do this solo. However, though, I reached out to a couple of young men that I know personally and asked them if they would be interested in participating, and they all agreed. And I'm so glad that we have them. But before we bring them on, let me set this up so you all know why we're having this conversation. And it's basically from the reason of it is from an experience that I had encountered just recently while I was at work with a group of young men. And I would say it had to be about a total of maybe about 4 or 5 men at the time. Sometimes the group will rise up to 7 guys. And what I noticed is that where I was working, and I noticed that every day, I observed them for 3 days. And every day, almost like clockwork, around between 8:30, 9-ish in the morning, they would come together and they would just hang out. They would just hang out in this one particular spot. They'll be there for about 2 hours. I'm not saying that they were doing anything to draw attention to it. It's just the fact that they were standing there. And these were young men that caught my attention. And I don't know about many of you, but me being a father, number one, first of all, a man, number two, whatever order you want to take that in, really concerned me, because I was like, man, what are they going to do with their life? Are they going to spend the rest of their life just hanging on this corner right here for 2 and 3 and 4 hours a day? So I said, well, you know what, let me go over and have a conversation with them. Let me go and talk to them. So I approached them and I introduced myself. I gave them one of my business cards and let them know that I was a YouTuber and that I had this particular channel here. And I just wanted to just have some conversation with them. And so, but before we started, so I asked them, I said, but listen, what I would like to do, I would like to record this conversation, just for content for my channel. And the minute I say that, and I'm trying to explain to them, look, I don't want a video or anything. I just want to record the audio. And they scattered like, they scattered like roaches when you turn the light on, the roaches leave. That's how they scattered. Now, some walked off, but there was a couple of them that, about 2 or 3 of them that stayed. And so one of the gentlemen said to me, he says, sir, no disrespect. He said, but we good. So in essence, I just took that as my cue. It's time to leave. We appreciate you, but we don't want to talk. That's how I looked at that. So I walked away. So as I was walking away, one of the gentlemen, I looked at him, I said, listen, I said, everything okay? I asked him, was he on his way to school? He said, yes. I said, well, what grade? 12th grade. I said, you got any aspirations for what you want to do in life? And he said, well, I want to be a correctional officer. Okay, that's great, So I went on about my way, but I continued to watch them. I didn't bother them anymore. Every now and then, you see them smoking, doing their little things, but he wasn't doing anything, I would say, from where I was standing, illegal. And I wasn't attempting to expect anything differently. It was just my concern. It was just my absolute concern why I was concerned about them. And I want to know, man, what can we do that can make their life different, make their life better? Now, I have some opinions about that, And but I want to have this discussion with a couple of my dear brothers. I'm going to introduce to you, first of all, Mr. Ken Fillmore. He is a local business owner of a paint and body shop. He's a great brother. He's a family man as well. I'm going to introduce to you Mr. Elias Carvel. He's a correctional officer with a local municipality here. And he's also co-owner with his wife, and they have a mental health practice in which that he supports her in. And then I'm going to bring, not last but least, my dear brother. Y'all have seen him. He's a regular host on this particular show, Mr. Aaron Gibbons. He's a pastor in Tampa, Florida. He's also a local business owner. He has a moving company as well as a recording studio. Say hello to the audience, gentlemen.
How y'all doing?
Good evening.
All right, awesome. So again, y'all heard what I had to say. And so the question that I want to pose to you guys, seeing that, who do you feel is responsible for these young men being on this corner? Who would you say?
That is, we start.
Go ahead, Ken. Yeah, we can start with you.
I would say we are. And the reason I say we are is just from my upbringing. When I was growing up, even the guys on the corner, the drug dealers, they saw potential in the young guys coming up. And I have to use myself for an example. I was a knucklehead growing up, but they saw potential in me, and they would steer me in the right direction. They would go to school, young blood. Get your education instead of being out here with us. If you need something, come holler at me. I'll get you some shoes if you need the shoes. Won't want you out here breaking in nobody's houses, And some of them even talked to my mother or my grandmother. Some of them even told her, he snitched on me, to keep me out, to keep me out of trouble.
Right. Okay. So Ellis?
Honestly, I agree with my brother. We are responsible because as men growing up, we have to pull something into the next generation. And if we're not pulling nothing into the next generation, that means the generation growing up blank, like a blank canvas. If we don't start painting anything, there's nothing for them to see. Wow, so the kids only repeat what they receive. So they see people on a corner hanging out, they repeat the same cycle. If they see a man come home, take care of his family, they repeat the same cycle. So until we wake up and start to form new patterns for our kids to repeat, they're going to fall to the same cycle.
I like that. I like the fact that you say we need to paint a canvas. That's good. Aaron, what you got for us, bro?
I agree with these other gentlemen that have already spoken. And I too agree that it's us, those that have made it. It is our duty, especially us being black men, that we reach back and help those who are not as fortunate to have the fathers or the mentors as far as that goes, because it wasn't just fathers figures for me. It was more about mentors, because there were several mentors that I salute my hat to all the time, because they took time out of their busy life and busy schedule to make time to make sure me, a young teenage knucklehead boy who didn't want to listen to his mama or his grandma, and thought I knew everything. These men took the time to make sure that I stayed on the right track, and I still got on the wrong track on my own time, but they were still there sacrificing to make sure that I knew that it wasn't accepted. So I think it's us too. That's why we have to, even though it's difficult at times, we still have to make the sacrifice to make sure if it ain't but one, you know what I mean? We can't save them all, but let's go get that one.
It's interesting that you said that, because that was pretty much my whole mindset. As I watch these gentlemen and I'm looking at them and I'm observing them, like, okay, so who's the leader? Who's the one person who is the influencer? And once I was able to identify them, I'm like, okay, technically, I'm like, well, God, just give me an opportunity, give me an opportunity where I can just go and talk to him. I'm not here to get anyone in trouble or anything like that or point them misdeed, but hopefully that we can give them, I can pour something into them or say one phrase, one word that would basically just change their whole mindset. You know what? Hey, you know what? Because one of the things that I could say, y'all can tell me whether or not y'all agree with me, first of all, because first of all, what I'm hearing is that we as fathers, the fathers need to step up. The fathers are the responsible. Whoever is the seed of that child's seed, whatever man that child is the seed of, they need to be responsible. They're responsible for that young man being on that corner. Do you all agree?
100%.
Okay, so then if they don't want, and I think you said it, Ken, that if they didn't want, you grew up, drug boys, they would tell you, no, you need to go to school. Don't do this, don't do that. In essence, they still made sure that you didn't end up, I guess you could say, where you was at. Is that about right?
Right.
So then the question is, are they there because, let's say daddy didn't show that they cared, or nobody did show that they care about them? Is a possibility that they're on that corner because of that?
Well, yeah. I would say yeah, because a lot of them came from broken homes, and they saw my situation, because my father, he was there for the first 14 years, but he got hooked on drugs from the same drugs that they were out there selling, Wow. And they in turn saw the decline of the family. And our family was well respected in the neighborhood. And from the respect factor, they saw the decline of the family. And they saw, because we had 3 boys. My mom had 3 boys. So and my nickname was JoJo. So they said if JoJo make it, then the other boys can make it, because they're going to follow his example. So they definitely pushed me, to school. And I was the one to go to school, go to college, get the football scholarship, then went on to the military.
Right. So you went to the military. In essence, they wanted to make sure that you were not, they were still, even though they might have had their own things that they were doing, they still want to make sure you as a young man to end up where they were at, that you're going to have a better life.
Right.
What say you, brother Ellis?
Well, I know for me growing up, part of my story, majority of my story, growing up in a single home where my father was there literally 10% of my life. He show up, he disappeared for almost a whole year, pop in, pop out. And so I grew up literally learning how to be a father by looking through another man's living room window. Because to understand what a man is and who he is and what he is, you need somebody that could impact that and instill that inside of you. It's almost like having an empty glass and pouring water in it, but have no bottle.
Wow.
So I had to begin to replace and begin to retract and find out what was wrong with me to change my life. And the only way I could do that, I had to find the path that my father set for me and reset that path. So now I understand, now when I see the young man, I find out what's in their past, that they are repeating the same cycle in their past, so they can reset the path and do something different for themselves.
Yeah, that's deep. That's deep. What about you, Mr. Aaron?
Like these fellow gentlemen up here, definitely first 10, 11 years of my life, mom and dad in home, grew up in the church. So life had structure, it had discipline, it had order. And I was able to see things from a different perspective for the first 10, 11 years. But when that split happened, I'm telling you, it was like, whoa. Mom had to pick up and she was working 2 shifts. So I'm home, and basically we moved to what you would call projects. You know what I'm saying? And it's no disrespect, because what that taught me was real life. How real life could go from the suburbs in a sense to different living. And what I saw at that age let me know that if you really wanted to thrive in life, it was going to take hard work and dedication. And that's what my mom showed me, because she promised me we were only going to be there a year. And in that year, I saw so much it definitely had a very huge impact on my life. And when we got out of there, those things still stuck with me. And that was my, just to be honest, when I got grown and can do my own thing, I went back to some of those things that I saw because I was like, man, I wanted to try that then. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't age appropriate. So just like these other guys, I mean, the broken home, I think that has a lot to do with it. Fathers not doing a complete part, whether their hands are tied, whether the situation is difficult, whether there's a restraining order, whether there's custody issues. I mean, regardless of what it is, I mean, that's your child, that's your son, that's your daughter. You know what I mean? They need you for the next level of life. And when we have other people that come into our lives that are not our parents and they try to show you life, they're not showing you life from compassion or understanding. They're showing you life from, hey, this what I know, this what I'm gonna show you. And it's not always beneficial for the person that they're showing it to, because some things that I learned from other people that had nothing to do with my family, man, it ruined me. It gave me a jacked up mentality.
Well, you said something about dysfunctional families or broken families. Now, I was sharing this with someone today that I just believe that there is a gulf between, we have the fathers over here, we have the sons over here. Now, I'm not excluding or attempting to exempt daughters because they matter as well. Daughters need their fathers as well. Daughters suffer mentally, emotionally when their fathers are not present as well. It's no question about it. But we're targeting our sons right now. Yes, daughters have issues as well. I'm not ignoring that. But we're talking about our men who we believe and we all absolutely know for a fact that we're supposed to be the leaders. So, I have this mindset, I'm going to do everything that I can to duplicate myself. Make sure that my sons know how to treat a woman, know how to be responsible, so forth and so on. But I believe that there is a big gap between fathers and sons. And the gulf that's in between that is a lot of mothers. We have good mothers, and we have, I'm going to use the word bad mothers, or I don't know if that's the right word. I'm not trying to throw any mother under the bus for whatever your struggles is. But, I was when I was sharing with you guys, I went back and I was looking at I looked at the movie Boys in the Hood. And I watched it and I took notes and everything. And this movie was created in 1991. And what shocked me was that the same thing that went on in 1991, 30 years later, we still have those same experiences. And in the end, it was something, and what I saw the pattern where it's that you have one mother who is raising a son who don't mind allowing the father to be involved. But then you have another mother who is raising two sons, don't even know who the father is, I guess, or bashing the father as well as bashing the sons. The mother who allowed the father to rear up her child, her only child, he ended up being successful, getting out of the ghetto, if you can say, and moving on and succeeding in life. Whereas that the mother who no father was involved in their life, her two sons ended up being murdered. So that's my feel. That you know what? And then I had a guest on on my last show, I believe it was. And he talked about how, he grew up without his father. But nevertheless, though, not one time did he ever hear his father say to him anything negative about his father. His mother say to him anything negative about his father. I believe that if we can get the women, the mothers and the fathers to be on the same page for that child, we won't experience or have what we're having right now with a lot of our young men going the wrong way. What do y'all guys have to say to that?
A lot of that speaks to identity. Because if the child doesn't have an identity, and that identity is given, from the father, but if the child identifies with the mother, then so that's a problem. Because again, she can't teach him how to be a man, how when he falls down, how to get back up. And when he encounters an obstacle, how to either get around that obstacle or blow through that obstacle. She can't do that. She can teach her from her standpoint, but she can't teach her from a man's standpoint. And again, it's identity. You know, if you can't trust the man, you got to trust the plan. And that man has that plan.
Now, it was funny you said that, because if you go back and look at Boys in the Hood, the movie, Trey, he got in trouble at school, and him and his mother had an agreement. And he violated the agreement. So she told him, look, you're going to your father. And when she took him to his father, she told Mr. Farius Styles, listen, you are his father. It's up to you to teach him how to be a man. And that's exactly what he did. He laid down the rules, but yet still, Trey may not didn't like it, but which of us fathers who have grown up with our fathers really liked or understood the structure in which, because that's what all the fathers of a true father is trying to do, is give you structure as a young man. Okay, but that's the difference between, as far as you got a mother that don't mind allowing the fathers to be engaged instead of fighting with them and cussing them out and all this kind of stuff. Whereas that you have a mother who is allowing the fathers to be engaged, that for the sake of the child. What you got to say, Elias?
Well, what I'm gonna say is, bring me to the mind of a dining room table. A dining room table have two heads to it, and at the head of the table you have a mother and a father. Left brain, right brain, they sync, they work together. If one of the head is messed up, that means you had a seizure. So you walk around like this here because why? Not picking at people that have seizures, but that means your body is not functioning right. So a child grew up in a home that's not functioning right, end up growing unbalanced. But when you have two parents working together, that is the head of the house, it's easy for them to operate as one and help that child to form into a development of a society that be like, oh my God, this is so and so and son. I love this young man. He speaks very well. He's very clean. He's respectable. But then when you have a child that grew up in an unbalanced home where they grew up where seeing so many different things that they end up in seeing, and it was not shielded and it was not protected, they end up growing in an environment where, I hate to say it, molestation take place, abuse take place,
Wow.
physical, mentally, and abuse. Because I work in that same field where you see it every day. The stories do not change. And a lot of them say the same thing. Where is my father? Who is my father? Why he did not protect me?
Wow.
Why he
Wow.
did not teach me? Why he did not lead me? Because one thing I strongly believe is a father's responsibility to teach his son how to have a vision.
Bingo. Bruh, let me tell you, as I looked out the window watching these young men, that's the one question I kept asking myself. Do they have a vision for themselves? Other than football, other than basketball, other than music, other than dope, or whatever the game is, do they have or see themselves as anything beyond that? Man, that was great, man. That was great. What you got to say, Mr. Music?
Man, listen, that was heavy. And I've said that same thing, that until both parents realize that they're business partners. If you can't make it work in a relationship, you're now business partners. And your business is raising this child to be the best complete version of the two of you that were incomplete. That's why y'all didn't work. So now that you are business partners raising the child, you have to do everything that is not beneficial for you at times, but beneficial for that child. Because sometimes the father has to look at himself, and I've had to go through this in raising my 16-year-old daughter. Sometimes I've had to say, you know what, babe, I got too much going on. It might be best that you with your mom a little bit more than me. But I'm still active.
Right.
And then sometimes her mom has had to pick up the phone and say, hey, listen, I know you got XYZ going on, but your daughter needs you right here, right now. You got to be here a little bit more than that. And then I digress and I change up my schedule and I'm more active in her life. And I believe as long as two parents can be good business partners and not be selfish, because there's a lot of times that's the problem is the mother or the father look at the other person and be like, you know what, this joker doing too good, she doing too good, he doing too good. And what do? They use the child as a pawn, and the child is affected in how they benefit. I'm not my child see, or whatever the case may be. And as long as we have that mentality, we're going to continue to see young men on the corner that patronize drug dealers, that patronize thugs, because guess what? It's easier to go get the fast money than to go get a job that's going to make you work, and you're going to get $100 after working 2 weeks versus going to that corner, flipping a couple bricks, and you're going to be able to go buy whatever you want in a matter of hours. We can't sugarcoat that. When you do the math, it does make sense, but it's just not good. It's not safe. It's not smart. It's not a good thing. It's just not. And I thank God for covering me while I was out there doing that. I don't want to go too much, bro. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man. You're good. You know, I came across in the same area. I came across a young man, older man, and he pretty much said something similar to what you were saying, Aaron. That he does, you know, he had this came across this young man in a conversation, and he was all hyped up and what have you about you, man, because he out there selling dope, right? And he was saying, trying to tell the young man, look, bro, that's a short life. You know, here it is, he's 17, 18 years old, and he wants to sell dope, but that's a short life. He ain't gonna go, and he was telling him, yeah, you might have this, you might have that, versus if you go ahead and get your diploma, you go and spend 4 years in college, get your degree, you get you a good job, then that's long term. You know, some more he was saying, it's not a call coming to memory, but he was just trying to point this young man in the right way as far as go ahead, don't look for the shortcut. Go ahead and take the long cut, because that's what's going to last better long for you anyway. You know, but going back to something that you said though, Aaron, it seems like though we got to get, I guess the number one thing that we need to hope for, or that the men, the mothers, and the fathers that are listening to this podcast, that they would grab a hold of. Listen, whatever your differences may be, you may not be able to cohabitate together, which we hope that you would. But no matter what, if you can't, make sure you keep an open line of communication. Where is that for the sake of the child and not just for the sake of yourself?
Now, can I say this? Everything I'm hearing is wonderful, and I thank God for this platform, because it helps reach other young men and other fathers that need to hear stuff like this and help understand their place in this world. You know, we talk so much, but sometimes people don't hear because they're listening to hear what they want to hear. You know, when you look at the dope man on the streets, they hear you saying go to college, but they see that dope man driving that nice car.
Right, right.
And they don't see enough of us coming back to get our youth. And like I told him one time before, it's good for a man to go back home to show the young men that it's possible to do something productive for themselves. So we're too busy worrying about ourselves and not realizing the next generation need us.
You know, I had wrote a quote, and I said that technically, man, every decision that we make, it doesn't only affect us, but it affects our children as well. It not only our children, but their children and their children. When we don't do what is right, what is necessary as men, as fathers, as husbands, man, we cannot, no matter, yeah, we all gonna have issues. We all gonna go through things. We all gonna have those struggles. We all got to deal with what they call LIFE, life. But if you took the time to have that child, don't neglect the child. Don't think more of yourself than you do your child, than you do your son. Because I think if you're engaged with him, even if they do stray, guess what? Preferably you have instilled enough in them that they'll find their way. It'll be like a boomerang. They'll go out there, but they'll end up coming right back. So we got some comments here. Let me put this one up. Okay, Mr. Tyler said, I was a hustler. My dad always said, if you're going to hustle, make sure you have a check coming in. All right, bro. Got to make a check on. In essence, go to work. There's nothing wrong with that. But you know what? Let me ask you this, Sarah. Let me ask you guys. I know, Ken, you have sons, right?
Yeah.
What's your biggest challenge with your sons? If you was to say, just one.
Influence. The biggest challenge I have right now with my sons are the influences that they are around. And I wanted to speak to what you were saying about the gentlemen that were congregating and you went over there. Now my sons, they see me and I have credibility with them.
Good word.
And now they listen. But before they didn't listen because my credibility wasn't good. I didn't have good credit with them. So and how I got that is through conversation. You know, they're listening to rap music. Okay, who is Lil Uzi Vert? I have no idea who that is. But if you want to talk Q, if you want to talk Jay-Z, if you want to talk about any of those guys, I can talk to you about that. They didn't even know I listened to rap music. Yeah, I wasn't always 47 years old. I was 18 at one time, you know, but now I introduced them to the rap music I listen to, you know, and they're like, what you know about this? No, I know about it because it's Christian rap now, you know. So now they're listening to some of the things that I listen to, you know, and then when their friends see me interact with them this way, and their friend like, man, your pop's cool. Now they friends want to come over here and eat out my refrigerator, you know, and I invite them, you know, come on over, come watch the game, or let's go fishing, you know. But the issue that you had, Minister Lionel, was when you went down there, you didn't have the credibility. But if you go back and just sit down with them, just talk to them, and go back, sit down with them and talk to them, now you're increasing your credibility. And now they're going to sit down and talk. They're going to let you record because they know you now. You know, They understand you now. They understand where you're coming from. You know, even the kids around here where I live at, they watch me because sometimes I do body work outside. Mr. Ken, what you doing? Okay, well, this is what I'm doing, but I'm gonna show you what I'm doing. Come on over here and help me.
Right.
You know, and now they're learning something. You know, it's not like I'm like, nah, I don't have time to teach you. I'm gonna take some time out of my time and I'm gonna give you that time. You know, and that's something that they respect. You know, so going forward, you know, us as men, that's what we have to do. We have to give some of these kids our time because time is something that we can't get back. You know, so we got to give it to the next generation.
Yeah,
what I would
go ahead.
Oh, what I was saying to Pete, what you were saying is, you know, that's 100% true. And what I discovered, even at work, when I began to speak to the different gentlemen, I drop nuggets. You know, you drop little gold nuggets here, and hoping that they'll come by and ask about the nugget that you just drop on the ground. And sometimes I don't say much. I just leave a little nugget, and I walk away. Eventually, they'll find you because why? Now the curiosity got to them. Because now I don't throw the rod out there. I gotta wheel them in. Now it's time to really fish because why? You got their attention. Now you're able to pour something into an empty glass that one day will be full enough to pour into somebody else's glass.
That's good.
Because a lot of us men, I hate to say it, we forget to pull each other up. Conversation like this help pull other men up to pull into their own sons. In the neighborhood, so I always tell people, I'm a neighborhood father sometimes. When you go outside, you see a lot of fatherless kids looking for a father figure. So I'm not just one father of one, I'm father of many. Because you never know who you're impacting when you walk down the street. That's why I uphold myself to a certain extent where people look at me and say, oh, that's, you got a good dad. Because it's important. We have to do this as men. Iron sharpen iron.
That's good, man. That's dope. That is dope. What you guys say, Aaron?
Man, I'm getting full just listening, man. I'm telling you, these two gentlemen that you have on here, they got some vital inserts that they're saying tonight, and I agree with it, and it just lets me know that we're all on the right track because we're all doing the same thing, reaching back for one or two, and that credibility is everything because I've had my share of sons that I've come into their life, and out of some circumstance in my control in different ways, I'm not there anymore. But while I was there, the credibility, just like he said, I'm definitely not an NBA YoungBoy fan, but I had to endure some NBA YoungBoy music just to gain credibility with my son. And when I did, the first thing I said to him was, "Hey, do you know who Outkast is?" He was like, "Nah, who is that?" "You know who Tupac is?" "Nah, who is that?" I said, "Okay, so for every song, this was way before the COVID, way before the verses. I say for every song you play from NBA YoungBoy, you got to listen to one of my boys." And then we got into different music, and that was our chance to be relatable to each other. And then what ends up happening is when we get in the car, he's like, let's go back to that verses. You know what I'm saying? I got one song, you got another song. And then when he gets around the friends and associates, just like the other young man said, you know what I'm saying? Their friends are looking at the fact that you have this bond with your father figure or with your father, and they're trying to figure out how can they get a bond like that. So that's where we have to gain that credibility and continue to do that, not just in our own home, but as he did in the workouts, as you do when you walking in the grocery store. You know what I'm saying? These little kids, they're always paying attention. So my thing is when I see little kids, little young kids, I always say, "What's up, young king?" That's my word to them. Because if I pour that seed into their mind, he called me young king. If they get that in their mind versus somebody calling them an idiot or stupid or lazy or punk or whatever the case may be, they're going to remember that one guy saw me in Walmart and he called me a young king. And it might just be the day that they can turn their life around and start looking at themselves as they have value.
You know, in the movie Boys of the Hood, that's one of the things that Ferris did with Trey. He sat down with him. He said, "Listen, I'm a king and you're a prince." He and this is what I think one of you guys going back to the identity. We got to give them identity. And I think that's why and that's interesting. I think that might be where we need to go, because if they had an identity, it's a possibility they would not be on that corner, because they will realize, you know what, I got something I got to go do. In order for me to get here, this is what I need to do. And then something else comes to mind as well is that it was going back to a conversation I had with someone I was riding with today. And they said they want to do better, but they don't know who to go to. And I told them, I said, well, you got to seek wisdom, because the Bible says that if any man, oh my God, what's the scripture? If any man desires wisdom, let him ask. But again, but they didn't know who to go to. So I'm here listening to what you're saying, and I'm thinking, man, we got to make ourselves more accessible to these young men. Be that example. Let them see that we're different, or that our life is successful in spite of. And then you know what? We came from the same grounds you come from. We came right out of there. I know I did. But I think that what we need to do. So I think that just to sum it up, and with something else, I'm going to put this comment up. It says that Mr. Johnson, he said, someone told me early on that the time with our children will build equity in their lives. Can't beat that. And that's somebody need to spend time with these young men before they even get there. What do you all feel about the comments, what I said about mothers?
I'll say this. I have 8 children. 8. Not all of them are biologically mine, but they're all mine. From 4 different mothers. Now, what I will say is my oldest son's mom, you know, I wasn't there. I was out getting shot at, shooting at people, jumping out of airplanes and doing stuff like that for 18 years.
Because you was a military background.
I was in the military, you know, and when I found out that he was my son, because I didn't know I actually played football with my son and didn't even know it. But when I found out, you know, that triggered something in me, you know, and I put as much time and effort into getting to know him as I possibly could. And, you know, I just told him, and this just happened. I just told him, I said, you know, I have to give your mom her flowers because she did something with you while I wasn't there. You know, I didn't know, but she still did something with you while I wasn't there. She never talked bad about me, you know? So I told him, I said, I have to, you know, go and tell your mom she did a great job and, you know, and apologize for not being there. But then on the flip side, I have with my second to the youngest son, I have one that she's absconded with my son, took him to Texas. I don't know who he's with. I don't know where he's at, you know, and every time I reach out to her, she wants to argue and I want to talk to him, you know, and I want to build, but you know, therein it goes where the mother, instead of bridging that gap or that divide, she's making it larger, you know, and she can, with the snap of her fingers, she can put us in contact with each other. You know, when she goes out of town or when she goes to work, she doesn't have to let one of her cousins or her brothers take care of him because he has a father right here in Hollywood. All she has to do is say, hey, Ken, you know, I'm going to California, I'm going to New York. Jake needs to come down there with you. Okay, when does this need to happen? And in what time frame? So I can prepare for it, you know, but that doesn't happen. And there's a lot of women that do that, you know, and that is a big problem.
What I would say, it's so much I can say about that situation, but I'm gonna say like this here. You know, sometimes a mother only repeats what she grew up around. Some woman repeats chaos because she grew up in a chaos home or chaotic home. Some women repeat, you know, peace because she grew up in a peaceful home. That's why I believe fathers are very important because they help raise their sons and the next generation of sons, especially when it comes down to a mother and a father. I had a mother that never bashed my dad. My dad was not the greatest dad in the world. I love my dad very much. I speak very highly of him, and I even tell you, he wasn't a good dad. He wasn't a good dad. If he was a good dad, he was good. If he was bad, he was bad. But it was neither me to say. It was about how I presented myself. Now, at the same time, I would have my oldest child, which I went through pure, there's a lot of, you know, cycles of turmoil with that. And no matter how much I tried to bring peace among it, chaos came about it. To the point is, I missed a whole 4 to 5 years of my child life. Now she's 18, and our relationship is at strain
So it did.
because
Yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Because she decided to, you know, decide that, you know, something, I want to know who my dad is. Because now, like I tell people, if a father teach his daughter how to receive love,
Mm,
and a father teaches his son how to give love.
mm.
So it go hand in hand. If we work together, we create a village of love instead of a village of hate. Because what the child end up doing, she grow up with a cycle of I hate this man, but I love him at the same time. But I hate him, but I'm gonna give him pure hell. And the
They
man's doing like this here.
you know, it's going back to what you're saying, and even I'm sure by your you know it strained the relationship with your daughter. So it's obvious then if your daughter gets in a relationship, she's going to do the same thing, repeat behavior. That's basically what you're saying.
Correct.
So then, listen, I'm not here to point fingers, because again, we have some great mothers out there who are doing it right. But what we are discussing and want to get down to is the fact of what we can do that's going to really bring this thing not where we can't have our young men hanging on the corner engaged in activities that they should not be engaged in, but yet having productive lives. Did you want to respond, Aaron? Because I got a comment I want to share here, and it's got a lot of comments, bro. You want to respond? Oh, he's gone again. But anyway, listen, this young man here, Mr. Welcher, peace out to you, man. He said, I was made fun of and called an Uncle Tom when I began to progress further in my field. You guys need to really go and look at the video that I have on our YouTube channel of him, his story, because he came from drug house and what have you. But he says that once I got to a level that I could reach back and pull some guys off the street, it was those same ones that called me Uncle Time years later. They called me Uncle Time years later. They thank me for helping to change their lives. The hood needs an example they can see and touch. That was good, Mr. Welcher. That was good. What we got here? What else we have here? Let me see here. Let me put this one up here. To hear this often because of I get to hear this often because of my husband. But to hear this from other men helps me to see the heart as well. I get so many men come in my office who are hurting, and the first thing they say is, I wish my father was there, and why did he leave me?
Wow.
So I guess going back to what we had identified in the beginning, that the reason that our young men are on the street is because of us. And I like the fact that Mr. Welcher said that, okay, there you go, bro, that they need to see examples. I think they need to see examples. So real quick, gentlemen, we got about another 10 minutes left here. What do you think that we can do as men to provide examples? What examples or solutions can we provide as men that can help change what we're experiencing right now today?
Be the change that you want to see. That's the first thing. And you know, that this is something that I've done, you know, so I'll just put this out there. My last name is Fillmore, and I never even thought about researching where it came from or anything like that. And my stepfather, he said, no, you really should. So he pushed me to research, and I found out that my last name came from the 13th president, which means that the 13th president had slaves. And when I told him that, and I think I was 15 years old when I told him this, I did the research, found out where my last name came from. He said, now don't revel in where your last name came from, revel in the people that went through and came out of that. You know, so in me saying that, it's our kids, they don't know where they come from.
Wow.
They really and truly don't know where they come from. So in me searching that out, I went past the 13th president, and I found out that my lineage comes from West Africa. You know, and you know, I went to school with a West African prince. You know, and I could have been in his tribe. Right. You know, so we don't know, you know, where we come from. And again, these children have to have a vision. If they know they are kings and queens, then their outlook is much different.
So we're talking about
we have to put into them.
Right. So we're talking about vision and identity.
Mm-hmm.
Vision and identity.
Now, what I would say to piggyback what you just said, and I like how you put it, because the truth of the matter is, if you don't know where you came from, how can you know where you're going? We too busy looking at what's in front of us, but not realizing what's holding us back.
Yeah.
We don't know our history, we don't know our lineage, we don't know nothing about ourselves. And a lot of our sons are walking around here with luggage on their back and can't go nowhere because they're asking the question, who am I? Who do I belong to? Where am I going? Because all I know right now, tomorrow I may die. Because it's all I know. So we need to stop and begin to give our kids something, our sons something to look back to and says, I want to come from this and go to there.
Going back to what you said, identity, vision, getting rid of luggage. But when we talk about luggage, let me actually, because I want to ask a question there, because something dropped in my mind. Is the luggage that they are holding on to is what they went through in the past, or let me just be straight, what the white man, especially we talking about we as men of color, or the system did to us. The system is holding us back. Is that true?
I would say this. I can't really say that because when I think about my lineage, about my father, my great-grandfather, I didn't know nothing about my past. I didn't just find out about my past until actually when I turned 33 years old. 43 years old, I'm sorry. And I got it with my uncle after 20 years, and I found out where my name came from. And kind of find out it was a lot of repeated cycles in my life.
Wow.
And I realized that one thing we have to do, we have to find out what path our Father has set for us, that we may repeat again and decide to either keep going on that same path or detour and rewrite a new lineage for our new sons. Because if we don't never find out where our paths are going, we give it to the next generation to keep on going. So we have to change something in our life to give it to our new generation so they can have a better positivity in their life.
Let me jump on that. So what you just said really made it clear of a decision that my father, who's still living today, made. Because there were times I have pressed him about his upgrowing, I guess I'm saying it right. You know, he was born in 1935. He grew up on a plantation. I don't know if they were slaves or not, but they grew up on a plantation. He grew up there when, as we know it, that we as Black people didn't have rights per se. He knew what the struggles were. But you know something though? No matter how much I or even my brothers pressed him, he would never talk about it. He would never discuss it. Now, based on what you're saying, I realize, because yeah, I might have went through that stuff, son, but that's not what's important right now. What is important is where I got to make sure that you get where you need to go. Because what I went through, guess what? Where I'm at right now and got you at now, you don't have to go through that. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have, in essence, I experienced that for you so that you wouldn't have to experience that. So it ain't no need in us discussing it, because guess what? How is discussing that going to benefit you where you're going? I'm about ready to get.
Yeah.
Can I slide in there real quick, bro?
Yeah, it all makes sense right now. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense. And I think that you saying about has the white man kept us down? I'm one, bro, and I might be a unicorn with this, but I'm one who's never supported that statement, simply because I believe no matter how far we fall off, no matter how far we have what we haven't accomplished, is based on our own hands and feet. If we get up and go do something different, you don't have to settle for what your mom and your dad lacked. because the resources for you are not the same as what they had. Your resources are completely different. The resources for my daughter and our children is completely different. So, and I'm just going to be real with you. The way that they're legalizing certain drugs, our normal routine for our men that are looking at the D-boys and that are looking at the drug dealers and they're looking at them, it's going to be long before you know it that they're going to be extinct anyway. For the simple fact of it is they're legalizing a lot of this stuff, so there's no need to go get a 3 for $10 off the corner when you can go to the dispensary. And I'm not advising anybody do that. But what I'm saying is there's no need for you to set yourself up for failure to have legal charges, messing up your history by getting charges and getting arrested when you can simply utilize the resources that you have. That's why it's important, as we're talking about vision, as we're talking about fathers playing their role, mentors playing their role. Let these boys know, like you said, basketball, football, and music is not the only source. We should have more black doctors. We should have more black lawyers, more black senators, more black judges. So if we don't encourage these young men to go that route, what are they going to do? They're going to repeat everything that has been done all the way anyway. And it has nothing to do with the white man or racism, in my opinion. It's got to do with what you really want out of life. If you want it, go get it.
When I had a guest on talking about, we was doing a series about prostate cancer, men and prostate cancer, or men's health rather. I was shocked that she said that in the world, I mean in the country, I'm sure my wife is on it, she could correct me. She said that there are only about 2% or 3% black doctors. And I'm like, well, you mean here in no? She said in this country, and that's shocking. That is shocking when the opportunity is open to everybody. Everybody. Yes, sir.
And what I would say to pick up what you're saying is the fact is we don't present it to our children.
Bingo.
You know, we don't present the opportunity of being a scientist, being an entrepreneur, being a lawyer, being a judge, things that can impact our community to be stronger instead of chasing a football and making a basket. We should be chasing our future. If we chase our future, we won't spend no time wasting it with foolishness. Sit down with our sons and reading with them. Sit down to have a discussion. One thing I can say about Minister Lionel, when I saw him with his sons, it was amazing. They love his father. They love their father. His interaction with his sons is beautiful, and I admire that because you don't see that too often when you walk down the street and you see other sons with their father. Because 9 times 10 you see the sons with their mother.
Or even on television, they'd be the only one on TV talking about their son, especially if their son get in some trouble or whatever. That's another podcast. That's another podcast. Yeah. Let me put this comment up here. It says it's easy to set up the black man when the women are trying to be the man. If women will allow the men to be men, a lot of this stuff wouldn't be happening. I agree with Mr. Music. When the black man wake up, it will shake the earth. That's good. Please allow the young men to see as you see them. Fathers, you are so important in the lives of your sons. Going back to something that I think it was you had said, Ken, and I think you as well. One of the things that I know when I see a bunch of young men congregating together, man, I'm not afraid to speak to them. Hey, how y'all doing? Yeah. I'm not afraid. You know, why we got it? In essence, I believe they can sense through our demeanor when we are around them, approach them, whether or not we're judging them or not. And I think that's what we want to avoid. In essence, feeling any sense that we are judging them. We want them to feel, going back to what you're saying, the beginning of that credibility. Hey, they can trust you. They can trust us as men. So, hey guys, we got any last comments, man? I don't know. We got any questions from our audience? Because if we have any questions, please put them in and we'll see if we can answer those for you. We appreciate you chiming in. Really wouldn't be anything without you. Let me see here if we got any others here. Put this one up here. Thank you, Minister Ken. You have spoken the longest of my heart. The man you describe is the man that my father was. He was an apostolic father in our neighborhood. Thank you for the backup on that, Minister Elias and Mr. Music. Sir, we got, that's something, man. I guess that's going back to the village, huh? I guess that's going back to the village. Okay. Any last comments, Brother Ken, before we get out of here?
It was just something that popped in my mind. It's something that I do with my sons. Anytime I see a single mother, let's say if the car breaks down or something like that, I make it, my business to stop and at least try to help.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And when they see me do that, I notice that they do it now, because my son called me and he had to be here for something that I needed him to do.
Right.
But he was like, Pop, I'll be there in like 15 minutes. I'm helping this lady right now with her car. I was like, all right, son, you go ahead and do that. And then I'll wait on you when you get here. So again, we have to be the example. We just can't keep talking. We gotta show.
That's good. That's good. It made me want to ask a question, but go ahead, Elias. What you got for us?
What I would say is we have to uphold ourselves to a higher standard when it comes down to presenting ourselves to our youth. Not being so hard on man that is going to quote it, but it's also being a power structure. Young men want to see power. They want to see somebody walk around with their head held out, their chest pulled out, and they're speaking with confidence. Because I ain't gonna lie, if you don't have no confidence with these young men, they can see right through you.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We all on this platform been through something. And a young man see that already. They see the struggle in our face. And they want to know, how do we get out the struggle? That's our cue right there to say, hey, we don't fish you in. Come on. Yeah. Let me show you something. Show you something different. Explain to you about what it's really life is. Because truth of the matter is, we are the past. They got to help our future get where they're going.
That's good.
But if we continue to stay the past, the future going to die out.
Each one teach one. Each one teach one. It's like I was where I was at today, and the gentleman had mentioned about how he was watching Discovery Channel, and it had to deal with elephants, and it was like the tracker was saying how, in essence, we got to do about what they need to do in order to make sure that the elephants stay in their lanes. And so what the tracker said, he said, what has happened is that the poachers have killed a lot of the older elephants who knew how to stay in lane, who knew the way to go, who knew where they needed to go, when they needed to go, and where they needed to be. Once the older elephants were gone, now you got the younger ones there. They don't know. They don't know how to stay in the lane. They don't know how to stay on track as to where they go. And I think that's where we at, even with fathers and sons. When the fathers are locked up doing things or absent, let me just say it this way, are absent from the lives of their sons, then our sons become lost and don't know the way to go. What do you got to say, Mr. Eric? I got a question here. But let me just get your comments, then we'll come back on the question. Put the question up, okay?
I got you. I want to first salute all the gentlemen that are on here for your contribution to reaching back and trying to make sure you make a difference. If nobody else don't tell you, I appreciate you. I thank you for it. And my comment is this: changing the mindset. Like the young lady stated about the women, a lot of women block when a man comes in the picture he may not necessarily try to date you or get to you or talk to you or want to be intimate with you or whatever the case may be, because there are some genuinely good men out here that want to not see another black man fall, but because women automatically think he just trying to holler at me, he don't want to really help me with my boys, he ain't trying to do this here and there. And don't get me wrong, there are some men out here that use the opportunity to help a young man to make a pass at the mama. I get that. But both sides has to change the mindset so that it can again be effective for the young men, because it's not about hooking up, it's not about linking up, it's about making a difference for these young people. Because a lot of times, and I know y'all can relate to this, some of these men have ruined the opportunity. They're doing something good for the young man, they mess with the woman, and then now the woman don't want nothing to do with him because that relationship or that opportunity has failed. Then the young boy loses a mentor. Let's change the mindset.
Change the mindset. So the question on the screen, thank you for that. What can we do as women to support you all? And this is the reason why the question. Carvel wants to know, what do you all need from women? Because she wants to be able to take it back to other women. What do we need from our women?
I know this might sound like an oxymoron, because you know us men don't like to talk, but communication, honest communication.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Communication. What said you, Mr. Ellis?
Sometimes communication is not speaking. And that's one thing we forget. Communication is not always speaking. It's actually paying attention. And if our spouse pay attention to our mood swings and know how to, like my wife, sometimes she like to butter me up to get what she want out of me. It works.
You ain't the only one.
But then at the same time, if she see me in a point where she see my mental state's going down, what she do, she put me in a position where I'm up whole and become whole. Because one thing I learned as being a father is coming home to my home make me whole. If I'm out on the streets, I am not whole. But being home with my wife and kids, I'm a man again.
Wow.
So knowing who I am in my home put me back in a place where I know my identity.
Back in your kingship.
So what you're saying then is it that it's two things that I hear when you say that, two words. And one of those words is, I guess I'm going to put it like respond to it like they'll say it this way, that what we need, women, we need you to respect us for who we are.
Boom. That should be a sound effect. Boom.
Okay. And number two, give us the affirmation for what we're doing, but that what we can do, what we are able to do.
You got
it. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to sit there and say la 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 la, but peace brings upon a lot of different things.
Shop this man preaching. Ellis, you preaching. You preaching. Hey. Man, good God Almighty. Well, I'm gonna slide in there, and I agree with everything y'all said. And ladies, if y'all gonna help us, and he said the right word, kingship. There's a kingship and a queenship. When a king is trying to get in his place, respect it. And there's a simple difference between a kingship and a boyship. Boys ain't gonna do what men do. When you see a man doing what a man do, don't hinder that man. Push that man. Pray for that man. Cover that man. Compliment that man. Assist that man so that everything he's doing, he can continue to do it by the grace of God. But a lot of times you see a good man doing what he's supposed to do, and you try to, you need to change this. You need to change that. You need to tighten up on this. But if he's such a good man, ain't he already tight?
I can say something on that now. You think like this now.
Go ahead, Ellis.
Be honest with you, woman has to know how to identify a man.
Mm.
But then she also has to know how to identify boys to be pretending to be a man. That
There's a
shows she won't
difference.
confuse the two. Because if she recognizes a man, she know, oh, I gotta respect this man. I don't want him to go nowhere. You staying home today, son. Husband, you staying home, king. Oh, no, we going to get a king. But when she got a boy pretending to be a man, she's trying to raise him.
Preach, Doc. Preach.
And now she lost respect for who he is because why? She raising a boy to be a man.
Now, you know what? See, okay, I'm writing a book, right? And one of the chapters, I guess, I don't know, it might be a book by itself, but it says, "Don't call me boy." That's the title. Don't call me boy. And I'm going to say this here. As long as we identify our sons as boys, they will act as boys. They will behave as boys, even when they are of an adult age. They would behave as boys. Then when they get 18, then we tell them, no, you're supposed to be a man. Well, how you want me to be a man now when you've been calling me a boy for the past 18, 15, 16, 18 years of my life? Now, I don't want to go into that right now, but I just want to throw that out there. I think we need to identify them for who they are. They are our sons. They are our young men. They are our princes who will one day be kings. We can call them kings, whatever, but never call them a boy.
You on it?
Yeah, I agree.
Right on the nose.
Never call them a boy. Because even we as men, you let another man call us boy. What's our response?
Oh,
Who?
What's
Get
our
some
response?
furniture moving.
Now,
Gonna get some furniture moving.
I'm telling you, I could go real deep in it, but I don't want to do that right now. But I'm just talking about, listen, if we want our sons or another man's sons to grow up and be men, then we need to start calling them, letting them know, hey, look, you are a man. You're a male child. You're a man, and who's one day going to have the responsibility. And from that point, we need to refer to them and begin to steal them. How else? There's something going back to what you were saying, Elias. How else are they going to learn what being a man is? It doesn't correlate. You're a man, but you're calling me a boy. No, I'm a man too.
Mm-hmm.
But they need to mature, come into maturity as a man, come into their manhood, rather. Anyway, I just want to throw that out. Let me see here. Oh, let me put this up here. Women want a man, but some are afraid of what that looks like because they've never had her father. It can be scary because now authority has come into place.
That'll preach. That'll preach.
And you wouldn't mind marry her.
Hey, Doc, that's over.
But listen, just as it's not enough of men that's reaching out, it's not enough women teaching and talking like that. You have more women out there teaching and talking about independence, how good they are, successful and strong by themselves. You need more women teaching and talking like that.
That's
Just my opinion. I know that's
I'm
another
gonna say this.
episode, but that's just my opinion.
She responds, she said, I'm submitted.
I'm gonna say this. It's a documentary I was looking at about a week ago, and they said in the culture, in every culture you hear, only in the black culture you hear woman strength or woman power, woman, however it goes, the affirmation of making a woman have authority over life itself, which I have no problem with that at all. But you don't hear it from the white culture. You don't hear it from the Chinese culture. You hear it from the Latino culture. We're the only one that will put ourselves affirmation over the men and almost say that men are no good. And what you just did there, you speak things into existence for yourself where you run into a lot of men. That is no good.
Yeah. Yep.
So you're saying then, again, and that to add, women, don't downgrade us. Don't put us down. Don't degrade us for who we are. Don't give us that respect, even if we not there. And it's interesting. I keep going back to the gentleman, the last young man that I interviewed, and he said his mother, he's 25, I think, right now. He said his mother, he never heard his mother degrade his father. Never.
Hey, bro. I know you probably trying to end the show, but can I leave this nugget that I heard?
And I think we're going to end on that. Come on.
Right. A lot of women are looking for the perfect man because these TV shows, these movies have a Morris Chestnut character that has the perfect lines, the perfect attitude, the perfect body, the perfect response, and they don't realize that Morris Chestnut is playing a character. He's going to go home to his wife, to his family. He's going to do something different. And most importantly, he's going to make a mistake. And that he have to apologize for it to his real wife. But the character that's on the big screen will never make the mistake. He will never not be at that puddle when you get ready to step into that puddle and have his jacket there so you don't have to get your red bottoms wet. That's always going to be perfect in the movies. But they compare real men that's out here trying to get it together and try to learn a couple things to those type of men that don't exist only in Hollywood.
In essence, we got flaws. We're not denying that. We have
Facts.
flaws. I don't know if we got off subject, on subject, in subject, or whatever subject.
You know, I know we try to end this here, but
yeah, we got
say what you said honestly, and it helps to know that we have to do the same thing for our sons. Because if you look at television, the sons are disrespecting their mothers.
Yes.
And if you look at the streets, our sons have no respect for women. And it's sad to say that. And what has happened is a cycle of both of them repeating is over and over again. So we have to begin to change the cycle of our young youth to see that we have to respect each other because we need each other.
You know what? Okay, I'm going to say this. We got to end, guys. I'm an old movie buff. I watch every morning. I watch My Three Sons. I have to watch My Three Sons before I leave. And if you look back, reflect back in the 60s and 70s, you had The Rifleman, you had Miami Three Sons. Who else was out there? You had Dick Van Dyke.
Bonanza,
right? Oh my God. I know I'm forgetting some shows right now. But what you saw a father in the house being responsible. As a matter of fact, my understanding is that My Three Sons was the very first show to show a widowed father raising three sons. Okay, so that in itself, fast forward it to today, what show you see today resemble that?
None.
Not one.
None.
So in essence, we could say that the father has been taken out of the picture, and replaced with masculine women.
Yeah.
Has been replaced with the government.
Femininity.
Has been replaced with internet. As far as our children are concerned, it's almost as if fathers does not exist. But that's why we do what we do here on the Father's Day.
That's why fathers know it's important.
That's why we do it.
Very important.
So, listen, guys, thank you so much. We got to close this. We got to end this here. And I want to thank all of our viewers, those who were watching. I thank you all for your comments. Ladies, your participation. Brothers, your participation. Thank you so much. To you, Mr. Ken, thank you. Mr. Elias, thank you. Mr. Music, Mr. Aaron, thank you so much, man. Guys, it has been an awesome pleasure. We probably gonna have you guys come back, man. I hope y'all guys accept, man.
No problem.
All right. Hey, until we meet again, A Father's Note, where we promote fathers through building men. Y'all have a great week.
Love y'all.
Lionel Nelson here, and welcome to A Father's Note, promoting fathers through building men. It's so important that we always stand up for our fathers. We want you to know we're with you. We're standing behind you 110%.